Very good evening to all of you. Today topic is miscellaneous topic and job work. This is majorly theory topic, but I will try to give insight, especially job work, and also with respect to the GST Council, how it functions. So we are starting with the section 144. Presumption as to the document in certain cases. Presumption generally means an act of accepting that something is true until it is proved not true. 144 lay down the presumption that are taken cognizance of by the court when certain documents are submitted as evidence by the prosecution in a proceeding under the GST law against any person. Document which is produced by the person under the CGST Act or any other law or under any other law, seized from the custody or control of any person under the CGST Act or any other law, received from any place outside India in the course of any proceeding. What we are receiving, what we are seizing, what we are producing, document. So whether it will be relied on or not, that is the discussion which we are doing in the section 144. Tendered by the prosecution in evidence against such person or any other person who is tried jointly with such person. As per Evidence Act 1872, the contest of a document must be proved by evidence and signature. As per Evidence Act we are talking about, the content of the document must be proved by evidence, and signature or handwriting of a person on the document must be proved to be the person of whom it is alleged to be. Further, the document which is required by the law to be attested shall not be used as evidence until at least one attesting witness has been called for the purpose of proving its execution, except in certain cases. Which provision we have talked about? Evidence Act 1872. Whether the same provision will prevail in the GST or any exception. Section 144 enable the court of law to make the departure from the above general principle in respect to the document given in the diagram above, and presume that the content of the document, signature which purpose to be in handwriting of any particular person is in that person handwriting, execution or attestation in the document has been made by the person by whom it purports to have been so executed or attested. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि we will assume that it is true and signature is pertaining to that person only. This implies that in case of the such document, if the said person claim that the document is not true or not signed or handwritten by him or not attested or executed by him, the burden of proof in respect of the same shall lies on him. Further, the Stamp Act provide a document which is not duly stamped shall inadmissible in the evidence. But Section 144 allow the court to depart from such general provision by providing the document shall be admissible in evidence even if it is not duly stamped. So that is departure from the self-attestation. That is departure from the other law like Stamp Act or Evidence Act. Admissibility of microfilm, facsimile, copies of the document and computer printout as document and as evidence. Section 145 document has been defined in 2 clause 41 to include written or printed record of any sort and electronic record as defined in the Information Technology Act. Deemed document. It can be microfilm, facsimile, copy, computer printout, or information stored electronically. As per section 145 subsection 1, following shall be deemed as document: microfilm of a document or the reproduction of the image embedded in such microfilm, whether enlarged or not. Microfilms are films containing microphotograph of a document. Such images are generally provided as negatives. Then facsimile is a copy or the reproduction of the document that is true to the original source as possible. An exact copy of the document is called as a facsimile. A statement contained in a document and included in the printed material produced by a computer. A statement contained in the document and included in the printed material produced by a computer. Information is stored electronically in any device or media, including any hard copy made of such information. It refers to the information stored in the digital form, which require the use of the computer hardware, software. Also, such information is normally created and altered in the digital form. This category would include the information stored in the ERP system that are employed by most business houses. Such document shall be admissible in any proceeding under the Act without further proof or production of original as evidence of any content of the original or of any fact stated therein, of which direct evidence would be admissible. What is the meaning of certification? Certificate identifying the document containing the statement and describing the manner in which it was produced, giving such particular of any device involved in the production of that document as may be appropriate for the purpose of showing that the document was produced by a computer, shall constitute evidence of any matter stated in the certificate. It may be noted that it shall be sufficient for a matter to be stated to the best of the knowledge and belief of the person stating it. Now, section 151 giving the power to collect the statistics, and this section 151 has been substituted. So let me open that particular new provision of section 151. So what is the 151? Earlier it was talking about power to collect the statistics. Now it is talking about power to call for information. With effect from 1/1/2022, the day when the Finance Act 2021 was came into the picture, effective date has been notified for the Finance Act 2021. Section 151 has been substituted to provide the commissioner or an officer authorized by him. What was the earlier provision? If the commissioner consider, he may direct that statistics to be collected relating to any matter dealt with or in connection with the Act. Now they are saying commissioner or any officer authorized by him may, by an order, direct any person to furnish the information relating to any matter dealt with in connection with this Act. Such time, such manner as may be specified. Earlier, the commissioner was required to issue the notification to call for the information from the concerned person relating to any matter in respect of which statistics were to be collected. Now that has been amended. Let me go back. Section 152 bar on disclosure of information. So, no information of an individual written with respect to any matter given for the purpose of 150 or 151 without the prior consent in writing of the concerned or his authorized agent be published in such manner as to enable any particular to be identified as referring to a particular person. No such information shall be used for the purpose of any proceeding under the Act. Confidentiality, except for the purpose of the prosecution under this Act or any other Act no person who is not engaged in the collection of statistics under the Act or of compilation or computerization for the purpose of this Act shall be permitted to see or have access to any information or individual written referred to in section 151. Exception reporting, no restriction shall apply to the publication of information to the class of the dealer or class of the transaction if in the opinion of the commissioner it is desirable in the public interest. So अगर कोई public interest के लिए चाहिए तो that can be obviously disclosed, published. Disclosure of information by the public servant. 158 lays down the provision for disclosure of information by the public servant as also maintaining the confidentiality of the same and related penal provision in the event of the contravention of the same. Information/document to be treated as confidential. Section 151 subsection 1 talk about all particular contained in any statement, any return or account or document, or all particular contained in the record of evidence, all particular contained in any record of the proceeding shall be treated as confidential. Now, even we can disclose particular, it means what is the exception to section 158 subsection 1? It says that for the purpose of the prosecution, 158 subsection 3 lays down that notwithstanding anything contained in 158, the following information may be disclosed. Let me repeat again. For prosecutions, any particular in respect of the statement, returns, accounts, document, evidence, affidavit or deposition for the purpose of any prosecution under IPC or Prevention of the Corruption Act or the Act or any other law for the time being in force. For carrying out the object of the Act, any particular to the central government or state government or to any person acting in the implementation of the Act for the purpose of carrying out the object of the Act, for service of the notice or recovery of the demand, for furnishing the information to the court in a proceeding where the government is a party, for audit of the tax receipt or refund, for inquiry into the conduct of GST officer, for enabling levy or realization of any tax or duties by lawful exercise of the powers, for inquiry into the charge of misconduct by any professional, for data entry on automated system, for any other law, and for public interest. These are the exception to the section 158 subsection 1. Now the restriction on courts. 158 subsection 2 override the provision of Indian Evidence Act. It is stated that court shall not require any GST officer to produce before it or give evidence before it in respect of the particular referred to in section 158 subsection 1. However, this restriction will not apply, which we have discussed earlier, just now. Publication of information in respect to the person in certain cases. Section 159. Now, section 159 confirms the power on the commissioner for publishing the name and other particular of the person in certain cases. Publishing the name and other information in certain cases. Section 159 confirms the power of the commissioner. What type of the information can be published? The name and other particular relating to the proceeding or prosecution under this act on such person. Who can publish? Commissioner or any other officer authorized. Kaushik, these are the self-explanatory now. See, these are the self-explanatory. Wherever it will require the discussion, explanation, I will definitely discuss. Like certain provision talks about the GST Council, we'll definitely discuss. But these are the self-explanatory, only theoretical provision. If any specific point you want me to explain, please tell me. I'll definitely explain. What is the manner of publication? The information shall be published in such manner as the commissioner or authorized officer think fit. They can publish in the official gazette also. They can publish in the newspaper also. They can publish in the magazine also. So they can publish in the manner as they deem fit. When can the information be published? Such information shall be published if commissioner or any other officer authorized by him in this behalf is of the opinion that it is necessary in the public interest to do so. Okay. Is there any additional information which can be published? In case of the firm, company or association of person, name of the partner of the firm, director, managing agent, secretary, treasury, treasurer or manager of the company or the member of the association, as the case may be, also be published if in the opinion of the commissioner circumstances case justify it. So what we have discussed, publication of information. What type of the information can be published? Name and other particular. Who can publish? Commissioner or any officer authorized. What is the manner? As he deem fit. When can the information be published? Such information shall be published if the commissioner in this behalf it is necessary, is of opinion that it is necessary in the public interest. Is there any additional information which can be published? In case of the firm, company, other than individuals, then may also be published if in the opinion that circumstances so warrant that it can be justified. Yes, we need to provide the firm's detail, we need to provide the details of the company or who are other associate, etc., director, manager, secretary. So what is the limitation on the publication of information relating to the penalty? No publication under this section shall be made in relation to any penalty imposed under this act until the time for presenting an appeal under section 107 has expired. What is the time limit? 3 months from the order of the adjudicating authority, and condonation of the delay is 1 month without any appeal have been presented, or the appeal if presented has been disposed of. Then they can inform the amount. Now the removal of the difficulty. So section 153 talking about that not below the rank of the assistant commissioner can take the assistance at the stage of scrutiny, inquiry, investigation or any other proceeding before him. So you might have heard or you might have seen that certain professionals are being hired by the department, like as a consultant for temporary arrangement, to give the assistance to the officer not below the rank of the assistant commissioner. It may be noted that such decision shall be taken having regard to the nature and complexity of the case and the interest of the revenue. An IT professional assistance may be sought where the officer is of the view that information of a taxable person stored in a computer does not reveal correct details. ठीक है, ये हो गया taking assistance. अब बात करते हैं assessment proceeding etc. not to be invalid on certain grounds. Which ground? That entire proceeding cannot be invalid on certain grounds. Let me discuss the ground. Section 160 talk about that sometime proceeding are challenged. Let's say, for example, that in the assessment or in the any adjudication, revision, review, appeal, rectification, if some opportunity of the being heard has not been given. See, we have read the provision that opportunity of the being heard has to be given. If not given, then court will reject the order, or that order would be void. Why? Because it is a principle of natural justice. So, but section 160 talk about that assessment proceeding not be invalid on certain ground. What is the ground? Case law with respect to any provision given in the material are enough to clear exams. I think so. So whatever the study material is there, that is sufficient. That is more than sufficient. Which proceeding are covered under this provision? The following proceeding: done, accepted, made, issued, initiated. To have done, accepted, made, issued, initiated are covered: assessment, reassessment, adjudication, review, revision, appeal, rectification, notice, summon, other proceeding. On which ground will such proceeding not held invalid? Such proceeding shall not be held invalid mere reason of the mistake, defect, or omission. If such proceeding are in substance and effect in conformity with or according to the intent, purpose, and requirement of the Act or any earlier law. So there is a slight mistake. So it will definitely depend upon case-to-case basis, which mistake can be considered not be invalid, or which mistake can be considered like or can be held as a invalid. Like I told you that if the order is being issued and that order is not speaking order, what is the meaning of a speaking order? See, suppose they are cancelling the registration of person A and they are not giving the reason. Let's say they have non-speaking order, or where the opportunity of the being heard are not being given. In all such cases, that will held be, or order would be held be void. But yes, if the mistake, defect, or omission are there, on this or mere on the mistake, you cannot say that entire proceeding would be invalid. When will the service of the any notice, order, or communication be not called in question? The service of any notice, order, or communication shall not be called in question if the notice, order, communication has already been acted upon by the person to whom it has been issued. Where such service has not been called in the question, or in earliest proceeding commenced, continue, or finalized pursuant to such a notice, communication, or order. So if, say, the notice has been issued against Mr. A, he cannot say that notice has not been issued to him or notice, order, communication has not been given to him if he has already acted upon that, or he has already commenced earlier proceeding, continued, or finalized pursuant to the notice, communication, or order. So that communication would not be the question mark. Service of the notice would not be question mark if the counterparty has already acted upon that. Rectification of error apparent on the face of the record. Section 161 provide for rectification of the mistake or error apparent on the face of the record by any authority. It may be noted that this section overrides the entire Act except for section 160 as discussed above. What is the 160? That assessment, proceeding, etc. not to be invalid on certain ground. So what is the rectification of order? Let's say there is a common totaling mistake. So you can request for rectification also. 161 provide the rectification. Which document are covered? Decision, order, notice, certificate, or any other document. Who can rectify? Any authority who has passed the order or issue the decision or order or notice or certificate or any other document may rectify. What type of the mistake can be rectified? Error or mistake which is appearing on the face of the record. It is settled law that a decision on a debatable point of the law is not a mistake apparent from the face of the record. Face of the record can be totaling mistake. When does the authority rectify the mistake or error? The authority, either they can act upon its own motion, or it has been noticed by the GST officer, or it is brought to the notice by the affected person, aggrieved party, within the period of 3 months from the date of the order. What is the time limit for rectification? No rectification can be made after a period of 6 months from the date of issue of such decision. However, such time limit does not apply where the rectification is in the nature of the correction of a clerical or arithmetical error or mistake arising from the accidental slip or omission. Like I told you, that simple, he has written the point, but somehow he has not given the effect into the totaling it. Okay. So that can be rectified at any point of time. What type of the precaution should be taken at the time of rectification? Principle of natural justice. What is the principle of natural justice? If by giving the rectification, the amount of demand is being increased or refund is being reduced, in that case, they have to give the opportunity of the being heard to the aggrieved party, and then only it will be valid. Section 170 talks about the rounding off. The principle of the rounding off with respect to the tax, interest, penalty, or fine. Any other sum payable under the provision, refund, or any other sum due under the provision, rounding off principle क्या होगा? Amount contain part of the rupee consisting of paisa, and such part is 50 paisa or more increased to 1 rupees, and if it is less than 50 paisa, it has to be ignored. A removal of difficulties, section 172. Section 172 lays down the procedure that may be followed by the government in case of any difficulties in giving effect of any provision of the Act. In such case, the central government, on the recommendation of the Council, by journal or special order published in the Gazette, make such provision not inconsistent with the provision of the Act or the rules made thereunder, as may be necessary or expedient for the purpose of removing the said difficulty. The time limit for making such order shall be 5 years from the date of commencement of the Act. Let's see certain order. How to see the order and where we have to see the order? Let me visit to the CBIC website. cbic.gov.in. This is a website, authentic website, wherein all notification, circular, order, everything has to be looked into. Here on the left hand side, you can see the GST. In the GST, the tax legislation, online services, GST update, manual FAQ, GST rate ready reckoner, others are being given. Let's say I am going to the removal of the difficulty order. I have clicked on the order. One second. Here, instruction or guidelines, circular notification, click on the order. Order not available. It means in the current year, there is no order. Let's see 2017. Here, which categories of the order are there? You can see CGST order, UTGST order, removal of the difficulty CGST order. I am moving to the removal of the difficulty order. Let's say to remove the difficulty in implementing in the provision on the composition levy. Let's say one order has been issued on 13 October 2017. We'll read that order. Can anybody confirm that you are able to see the order? Can anybody confirm that you are able to see the order? That CGST removal of the difficulty order 2017. एक बार confirm करना. Visible है ना? ठीक है. तो एक मिनट. Let me once again move to the provision and then we'll come back to this. Section 172 lays down the principle that may be followed by the government. In case of any difficulties in giving effect to any provision of the Act, in such case, the central government, in recommendation of the GST Council, by journal or special order published in the Gazette, makes such provision not consistent with the provision of the Act, rules, regulation, as may be necessary for the purpose of removing the difficulties. The time limit shall be 5 years from the date of the commencement of this act, as soon as after it is made before the Parliament. So now you can see that there is no order in 2023, 2022, because 5 years has already been completed, and that is the reason there is no order. In 2017, 2018, you will find the order. Let's see the order. One order we will see, so we have some idea. Where certain difficulty have arisen in giving effect to the provision of the CGST hereinafter in this order, referred to as the said act, insofar as it relates to the provision of section 10. They are saying for the removal of the difficulty, it is hereby clarified that if a person supplies the goods or services referred to in clause B, para 6, schedule 2. Can anybody tell me what is that? Can anybody tell me what is that? Schedule 2, para 6, clause B. Can anybody tell me what is the para 2, schedule 2, para 6, clause B? मुझे याद नहीं है. I'm expecting you to give the reply. What is that? Schedule 2, para 6, clause B. Fine, no problem. It is restaurant service. Correct. The person who is providing the restaurant service and also supplying the exempt service, including extending deposit, loan, advances, insofar as they relate to interest or discount. So he is giving the loan or he is earning the interest, which is exempted in the GST. Suppose I'm earning the interest on the long-term loans or advances, then that interest is exempted. Suppose I am otherwise supplying the restaurant service and also earning the interest, then that person will not be ineligible for the composition. Because initially, if you talk about in July 17, when the section 10 was introduced, it was talking about that you can provide the trading of the goods, you can provide manufacturing of the goods, or you can provide only restaurant service. Any service other than restaurant, you will not be qualified or you will not be eligible. So that order has been given, section 172. Using the power of section 172, they have given the order that yes, even if I'm earning the interest income or any other exempt supply of the service, I will not be disqualified. I will not be disqualified from the composition. Okay. And they have also clarified that in computing the aggregate turnover in order to determine his eligibility, so that the two benefit has been given, that one particular amount would not be added to the exempted supply, because in case of the composition, what is the maximum threshold limit? In case of the composition, what could be the maximum aggregate turnover? कितना maximum turnover हो सकता है composition के केस में? कंपोजिशन डीलर के केस में मैक्सिमम एग्रीगेट टर्नओवर कितनी हो सकती है? आंसर इज 1.5 CR in 10 subsection 1, or in 10 subsection 1 if it is in a special category state 75 lakhs. Kosiki 50 lakh was as per the act, but after the notification giving into effect, the limit has been increased 75 lakh to the special category state, and other than that normal category state, it will be the 1.5 CR. And 10 subsection 2A, the limit is 50 lakhs. The limit is 50 lakhs. Okay. So they are saying in calculation of aggregate turnover, because it has the upper limit, So they are saying exempted income, value of the supply of the any exempt service will not be added. Exempt service will not be added in the calculation of aggregate turnover. So that's two benefit has been given. The one, it will not be added in the aggregate turnover. Second benefit, that it will not create ineligibility. Let's see one or two more order. So then we can move ahead. Like 2018. For what is the last date to take the input tax credit? What is the last date to take the input tax credit? 16 subsection 4. What is the last date to take the input tax credit? In the current date, what is the last date? In the currently, kya provision hai? What is the provision to take the input tax credit? Missed, if I have missed any ITC, up to what time I can take the same? Any missed ITC. I am talking about 16 subsection 4 of the CGST Act. Oh my God. 16 subsection 4. 16 subsection 4 I'm talking about. What is the last date to take the input tax credit? Anyway, earlier it was due date for the month of the September following the end of the financial year, or annual return, furnishing of annual return, whichever is earlier. But now what is the date? It has been extended to November. And earlier, which were linked to the due date of the September month return, now they fixed the date 30th November. They fixed the date 30th November. That's it. Seek to extend the due date for availing the ITC on invoice debit note relating to the financial year 17-18. So by virtue of the order number 2, they have extended the due date till 31st March 2019 return. So these are the removal of the difficulty order because 17-18 the GST was first time introduced. So considering the difficulty being faced by the taxpayer, so they have extended the time limit for ITC for the financial year 17-18. Okay. So these are the order. I hope it is clear. Now, similar provisions relating to the removal of the difficulty order have also been prescribed in the section 25. So we have discussed some order. I have given you the gist of one or two order, how the order is being issued. Now we are talking about delegation of power. Power of central government to make the rules, regulation, section 164 and 165. Section 164 empower the government to make the rules on the recommendation of the GST Council for carrying out the provision of this act. So we know the multiple rules are there. Like for ITC, there is a rule 36. Okay, na? So reversal of input tax credit, there is a rule 37. For banking, rule 38. So multiple rule we have discussed: revocation of cancellation, cancellation of registration, rule 21, rule 21 capital A. So these are the rule which is being framed to implement the GST provision or GST Act. So following are the important point: the government may make the rule for all or any of the matter which by the act are required or may be prescribed or in respect of the provision are to be or may be made available by rules. The rules may also be issued with retrospective effect, but not from the date earlier than the date on which the provision of the act have come into force. The rules may provide the penalty not exceeding 10,000 for committing breach of any rules. The one important point which I like to highlight you, that let me ask the simple question: can rules supersede the act? Whether rules have the power to exceed the act? The answer would be no. It cannot be. So what is the problem? Multiple time it has been observed. Multiple time it has been observed that they have framed the rule. I'm talking about the GST provisions. They have framed the rule, but there is no corresponding provision in the GST Act. The first example, so that is not for the exam point of view, just only for understanding point of view. Like we talk about Rule 36 sub rule 4, which was inserted on 9th of October 2019, first time. That it was inserted on 9th of October 2019. What was it saying? That ITC should match with the GSTR 2A. If not matching, then you can take 20% extra ITC. We are not going into the detail because we are not discussing the input tax credit chapter. But the problem of that, in the corresponding Act 16 subsection 2, which is starting with the non-obstant clause, it does not have any provision to do the matching. At that point of time, I'm talking about. Currently, from 1/1/2022, they have inserted in the 16 subsection 2, the clause they have inserted, they are saying that yes, you can take the ITC only when it is auto-populated. What is my point which I like to highlight? What is my point which I like to highlight? See, now see 16 subsection 2, it is starting with non-obstant clause. Prior to 1/1/2022, there were only 4 conditions. Now I can say the rule 36(4) was inserted to implement any new condition which was not there in the Act. That can be challenged in the court. That rule cannot supersede the Act. This was a perfect example, and as a result, the GST has added 16 subsection to one new clause effective from 1/1/2022. Is it clear? एक बार confirm करना. The rule are binding on the SSC as well as officer. See, binding on the SSC subject to the condition that it should not give extra condition compared to the Act. Like I have given the example, then it can be challenged. Otherwise, yes, if they derive the power from the Act, then it is a binding nature. Because they provide that how the Act would be complied with, how the Act would be followed. So like the section 54 talk about the, yes, I can take the refund, but how to take the refund? Then they have framed the rule 89, they have given the formula, and also they have given the form number. So that is the procedure is being prescribed by way of rule. So they cannot put extra condition. So to that extent, I can say, yes, it will be binding. But if it exceeds the power like 36(4), then yes, it can be challenged and not binding. Like I can give one more example. You have to tell me that in the GST, there is a provision which talks about 1% amount has to be deposited in cash. You tell me what is the provisions. In the GST law, there is a one provision which talks about I have to deposit the 1% liability in cash compulsory. Please tell me what is that provisions. आपको बताना है. You have to tell me what is that provision because ITC chapter has already been completed. Rule 86B, 1% to be deposited in cash when it was also challenged. Mansa, it was also challenged. Why it has been challenged in the court? Because in the payment of tax section 49, 49A, 49B, Rule 88A, it talk about that you can pay the tax liability by utilizing the input tax credit. There is no restriction in the act, then you cannot put the restriction through rules. I hope now your question is answered, Mansa. Is it okay? एक बार कंफर्म करना ताकि मैं आगे बढ़ सकूं. It is rule 86, 88 भी नहीं है, 86 भी है. It is rule 86, it is 86B. 88B तो इंटरेस्ट का कैलकुलेशन है, जो 50 सबसेक्शन 3 के लिए जो इंटरेस्ट कैसे कैलकुलेट होगा ना, वो प्रोविजन बताता है. 50 सबसेक्शन 1 और 50 सबसेक्शन 3 दोनों के लिए. फाइन, ठीक है. नाउ द लेइंग of rules, regulation and notification. See, Kausiki, that is the reason. See, initially you told me कि sir मतलब समझ में नहीं आ रहा. तो wherever it is, मतलब it can be I can give the example, then only I can give the example. If it is possible, then only I can give the example, right? So initially it was completely theory, then that could be one of the reason. Laying of the rules, regulation and notification 166 gives the power that or delegate the legislation under this act shall be laid before each house of the parliament while it is in session for a total period of 30 days, which may be comprised in one session or in 2 or more successive sessions. Every rules made by the government or rules made by the board. What is the meaning of board? What is the meaning of board? The board means CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Tax Custom, CBIC and government. Every notification issued by the government. If both the house means agrees that any modification or rules regulation should not be made, the rules or regulation or notification shall thereafter have effect only in such modified forms or to be of no effect as the case may be. So it need the approval, then only it can be the part of the law. See, I can give you one example. See, the Finance Act 2023, Finance Bill 2023 has been made available, announced on the 1st Feb 2023. But whether the provision is implemented, the Finance Bill 2023 is made available. Whether it is applicable, answer is no. Why no? Because that is Finance Bill, not the Act. So how the bill would become Act? First, it would be passed by both the House of the Parliament. Then it will be submitted to the President for his assent. Once he will give his assent, then the Finance Bill will become Finance Act. After that, GST will issue the notification that the amended provision of the Finance Act, from which date it would be notified. Then the day when it is become effective, the day when it is being notified, then it will be effective. Like Finance Act 2022, like Finance Act 2021. It was not effective when it become act. It was notified at a later date. Like Finance Act 21, most of the provision were effective from 1/1/2022. Finance Act 2022, most of the provision were effect in 1st October 2022. So like they have to first travel through both the House of the Parliament, take the consent approval, and then it will be require the approval from the President, and then it become the act. And after become the act, the issue notification would be issued, and then it will become the or it will be effective in the GST. Can you suggest any platform which contain all list of the case law to understand the provision? Is it CBIC or gst.gov.in? See, gst.gov.in is a GSTN portal. So wherein we can file the return, we can apply for registration, etc. But that is not for the case law. So that is one more website, GST Council Secretariat. So there you will find the judgment of advance ruling, appellate authority of advance ruling. Okay. Now, delegation of the power. Section 167 prescribes the power conferred on any authority officer can be exercised by another authority if the commissioner so direct. Power to issue the instruction or the direction. 168 empower the CBIC to issue the order, instruction or direction to the CGST officer. Please note, to the CGST officer. It means the circular, instruction or order are binding on the GST officer, but not binding on the taxpayer, registered person. Nahi, binding nahi hai. Why? Because 168 says that the direction of the order, etc., will be for the CGST for the purpose of uniformity in the implementation of the act. Again, where you can see, we have already seen, like GST, you can see the circular, instruction, guidelines, and order. Let's see any instruction. So in 2017, they have issued the guideline for the consumer welfare fund provided to the board under Rule 97. Okay. You can see the circular, any multiple circular are there. You are also aware. We have read also multiple circular. We have discussed in the classes as well. Okay. Like e-way bill, there is a one circular 64 which talks about minor penalty of 500 CGST, 500 SGST. So the basically section 168 talks about that these directions, instruction to be followed by the GST officers. All officer and all other person employed in the implementation of the act, the binding nature of such order have been a matter of debate and scrutiny. The general understanding that circular is binding on the officers, but not on the SSC. However, in such circular, something contrary to the law shall prevail over the circular. So can give you perfect example, circular 135. I can give you perfect example, circular 135. What circular 135 says? That if you are like purchasing the goods and supplying the goods having the different rate at the same point of time, you cannot apply the refund. You cannot take the refund. Then recently they have clarified that circular 135 does not restricting the rate reduction because of the notifications. We have discussed in the refund chapter. So like merchant trading, like I'm supplying to the merchant exporter, I am purchasing the goods, okay, and supplying to the merchant exporter. What is the rate available to the merchant exporter? 0.1%. I can supply the goods 0.1%. So if I'm purchasing the goods or manufacturing the goods, whatever the rate available, can I go for the refund under inverted duty? Circular 135, after 135, it is being restricted. Correct. But now that has been relaxed. I can give one more example related to the refund. Circular was saying you can apply the refund. Initially, the circular was saying you can apply the refund for a multiple period, but within a period of 1 year. So I can select month or combination of month in a year. But suppose I like to file the refund for March 2019 to April 2019. It consists of 2 months. But it falls in the 2 different years. Earlier, the GST portal and the circular does not allow that I cannot file the refund application spread across financial year. Then High Court has given the direction that circular cannot go beyond the act because act does not restrict. So circular cannot give the restriction. And finally, they have amended the portal. So what is the point which I like to convey? That circular, yes, binding on the officer. But if it overrides the act, then that will not be binding on the SSC. Meaning of the commissioner for the purpose of following provision is the commissioner or the joint secretary post in the board. Can you please repeat the GST case law? हाँ मैं repeat मानसा मैं आपको visit मैं बता भी दूंगा. I'll go to that website also. Allow me some time. I'll go to that website as well. The meaning of the commissioner for the purpose of the following provision is the commissioner or in the board. So like if I say the CBIC, so CBIC, if commissioner is being working in the CBIC, then the designation would be joint secretary. It would not be the commissioner, but joint secretary is equivalent to the commissioner or principal commissioner. Okay. Shall exercise the power, meaning of the proper officer, delegation of the power by commissioner, notification of the class of the taxable person. They have the following power: notification of the class of the taxable person, maintain the accounts in the prescribed manner, extend the time limit for outward supply, extend the time limit for inward supply, return extension of time limit. Now there is no more, it is not 38.2 because there is no inward statement which is to be furnished. So it is not applicable. Annual return, statement of the TCS, TDS, job work, collection of statistics. Okay. Now, which is now the collection of the information. Correct. Extension of exception to the bar on the disclosure of the information, delegation of the power. Now 168A, during the COVID period, if they like to extend any date with respect to anything, then the 168 was introduced, was added in the law, and it gives the power to the government to extend the time limit in special circumstances. Like government is empowered to extend the time limit in the COVID period. They've extended the time limit to take the input tax credit, to file the return, to extend the e-way bill ka validity. Multiple things has been extended during the COVID period. By which section they have extended? 168 capital A. The government is empowered to extend the time limit provided under the CGST Act in respect of the action which cannot be completed or complied due to the force majeure like war, epidemic, flood, drought, or any other calamity. Okay. Omission, repeal, and saving. Abhi tak okay hai na? Now everything is okay till now. एक बार confirm करना whether everything is okay till now. Please confirm. ठीक है. Omission or repeal of earlier law. Amendment to the Amendment of Act 32 of 1994, Chapter 5 of the Finance Act 1994 lays down the provision of service tax. Since service tax has been subsumed in the GST, such provision are no more required and hence have been omitted and are not in force. Repeal and saving. The following legislation stand repealed from July 1, 2017, that is the date of commencement of the CGST Act. The Central Excise 1944, except in respect of the goods included in entry 84 of the Union List, petroleum, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gases, ATF, aviation turbine fuel, and tobacco. Was added in the all construction project. No, not only construction project, everywhere. Everywhere. So you might have seen the construction project. So that might have been added by the respective authority. For example, let's say work was going on by the National Highway Authority of India. They have issued any order giving any extension. They have added the force majeure clause. Similarly, the GST has also given the extension by using the power of 168 capital. So it is not limited to the construction. It is everywhere. So following legislation, Central Excise Act, we all know that still entry number 84 of the Union List is on 6 product. 5 product is the petroleum and 6th is the tobacco. These are the medicine, additional duties of excise, textile, Central Excise, tariff. These have been repealed. The repeal under section 174 or amendment under 173 shall not revive anything not in force or exist at the time of the amendment. Affect the previous operation of Amendment Act or Repealed Act. Affect any right, privilege, or obligation or liability acquired, accrued, or incurred under the previous law. It will not affect the right and liability of previous law. So it means, for example, service tax has been subsumed in the GST, but if there is a liability of the service tax, will that repeal will affect the liability? Answer would be no. That liability would continue. Affect any duties tax, surcharge, fine under any previous law. It will not have any effect. Similarly, no effect on the legal proceeding, tax, penalty under previous law. No effect on appellate proceeding under previous law. Suppose the VAT has been subsumed, but there is an appeal going on. Then that will continue even after repeal, that will continue. No provision of section 6 of journal clause with regard to the effect of repeal will apply for repeal provided under section 174. What is the section 6 of the journal clause? Effect of repeal, where this act or any central act or regulation made after the commencement of this act repeal any enactment made or hereafter to be made, then unless a different intent appear, the repeal shall not revive anything not in the force or exist at the time at which repeal take effect, or affect the previous operation of any enactment so repealed, affect any right, privilege, obligation or liability, affect any penalty, forfeiture, punishment incurred in respect of an offense, affect any investigation, legal proceeding, remedy, right, privilege, etc. Okay. Now, the other provision, common portal, section 146. Which common portal? The gst.gov.in. Section 146 enable the government to notify the GST common portal to facilitate the following. What is the facilitation? Registration, payment of tax, return furnishing, computation, e-way bill, other function as may be prescribed. So you know that yes, www.gst.gov.in for GST common portal, e-way bill gst.gov.in for generation of e-way bill. For e-invoice, there is another common portal, e-invoice. They have given 10 common portal for e-invoice. So like these are the common portal which has been made available for facilitation of above. Okay. A special procedure for certain process. And in the last class, Sunday would be the last class. In the last class, we are going to visit the portal also. The last class would be on the GST return. So I will explain by login to the portal as well at some place. Like what is the QRMP scheme, what is the GSTR1 overview, GSTR3B, GSTR2A, GSTR2B. So we'll discuss by logging to the GST portal. Okay, the special procedure. Section 148 is enabling provision for prescribing the special procedure for certain process. In this regard, such procedure shall be prescribed by way of notification issued by the government. The condition and safeguard and the class of the registered person to whom such proceeding will be applicable shall be stated in the notification. The special procedure may be with regard to the registration, filing of returns, payment of taxes and administrations. Okay. Some of the notification, like they are talking about 57 by 2017. Seek to prescribe the quarterly furnishing of the GSTR1 for taxpayer having aggregate turnover up to 1.5 CR. So now these provisions are not there. GSTR1 up to 1 discussed in the section 132. Correct. 132. Criminal liability. Criminal offenses. Section 162. Taxes are the civil liability. The basic rule is that every dispute which is civil in the nature can be tried by the civil court. However, since tax law generally provide a specific machinery for the assessment, appeal and recovery in terms of the special legislation, the jurisdiction of the civil court is barred in the matter relating to the tax law. Therefore, as per the section 162, no civil court shall have the jurisdiction to deal with or decide any question arising from or relating to anything done or purported to be done under this act. Okay. Levy of the fees. We'll take a break at 7:30. हम लोग break लेंगे 7:30 पर. ठीक है. Section 163 provide that a copy of any order or document can be provided to any person on application made by him for that purpose after paying the prescribed fees. Okay. Service of the notice in certain circumstances. Yes. Section 169 is important. Section 169 is important. It talks about service of the notice. So what is the mode of the servicing the notice? First, giving or tendering directly. By giving or tendering it directly to the or by a messenger, including the courier, to the addressee or the taxable person or his manager, authorized representative, advocate, tax practitioner holding authority to appear in proceeding on behalf of the taxable person. So they are giving directly. Okay. Then by the registered post, speed post or courier. Email, by sending the communication to his email address. At common portal, so they are uploading the notice on the common portal. Publication in the newspaper. Affixing at a place of business. Deemed date of servicing. So every decision, order, summon, notice, communication shall be deemed to have been served on the date on which it is tendered or published, or a copy thereof is affixed in the manner provided in subsection 1. Okay. Deemed date of the receipt, when the decision, order, summon, notice is sent by the registered post. It shall be deemed to have been received by the addressee at the expiry of the period normally taken by such post in transit, unless the contrary is proved. Okay. Anti-profiteering provision. It's a very important discussion. Before starting the point, let me give you the summary of the anti-profiteering provision. What is that anti-profiteering? The anti-profiteering, they are saying, because of the GST. So when the pre-GST regime was there and it was, now the GST was introduced, or in transition period, like suppose today the tax rate is 18% and tomorrow the tax rate has been reduced to 12%. Whenever the registered person is getting some extra benefit means either by way of the reduction in the tax liability or by way of increase in the input tax credit. Repeating once again, if the taxable person, registered person is getting the benefit in terms of the extra input tax credit or reduction of the tax liability, then extra benefit which is accrued to the registered person, it should pass on to the buyer, recipient, in terms of the reduction in the sale price. So most of the time it was observed that if they have not passed on the benefit to the buyer, in that case, National Anti-Profiteering Authority. You remember that we have discussed in adjudicating authority that adjudicating authority does not include National Anti-Profiteering Authority because it is a separate channel altogether. So National Anti-Profiteering Authority being constituted to examine whether input tax credit availed by the registered person or reduction in the tax rate have actually result into the commensurate reduction in the price of the goods or service supplied by him. This is the main theme, main crux. National Anti-Profiteering Authority, what they are doing? National Anti-Profiteering Authority has been constituted by the central government to examine whether input tax credit availed by the registered person or reduction in the tax rate have been actually resulted into the reduction in the selling price. Okay. So I think there is no National Anti-Profiteering Authority shall be the 5-member committee consisting of chairman who hold or has held a post equivalent to the rank of the secretary to the Government of India, 4 technical members who have been commissioner of the state tax for at least 1 year and have held equivalent post. Duties of the authority to determine whether reduction in the tax rate or the benefit of the ITC has been passed on the seller by the seller to the buyer by reducing the price. To identify the taxpayer who has not passed the benefit, to order to reduce the price or return to the recipient amount equivalent to the amount not passed by way of reduction in the price along with interest at the rate of 18%. Okay. Imposition of the penalty, cancellation of the registration. These are the action to be taken by the National Anti-Profiteering Authority. Now they need to furnish the performance report to the GST Council by 10th day of the month succeeding each quarter. Process followed by the authority, application to the authority, all application from interested party on issues of the local nature or these forwarded by the standing committee shall first be examined by the state level screening committee. On being satisfied that the supplier has not passed the benefit, the screening committee within 2 months from the date of the receipt of the written application will forward the application to the standing committee of anti-profiteering. If the standing committee is satisfied that there is a prima facie evidence to show that the supplier has not passed, they shall refer the matter to the DGAP, Director General of the Anti-Profiteering, for the detailed investigation. So time period is there. Investigation. The DGAP shall conduct the investigation and collect the evidence necessary to determine undue profiteering, or before initiation of the investigation, issue the notice to the interested parties. The evidence or information presented to the DGAP by one interested party can be made available to the other interested parties' participation in the proceeding. The evidence provided will be kept confidential. The DGAP, Director General of Anti-Profiteering, can seek opinion of any other agency or statutory authority in discharging the duties. The authority or an officer authorized by him will have the power to issue the summon, etc. DGAP will complete the investigation within a period of 6 months or such extended period, but maximum for another extension of 3 months would be available for reason to be recorded. Order of the authority, reduction in the price, return to the recipient 18%, deposit an amount equal to the 50% of the amount determined under above clauses, along with interest from the date of collection of the higher amount till the date of the deposit of such amount in the CWF, Consumer Welfare Fund. Yes, absolutely correct, Mansa. This type of the problem has been noticed. So in one good FMCG company also, there was a reduction in the rate of the FMCG product, but still they were charging the higher rate. Then the matter was referred to the National Anti-Profiteering Authority, and they have investigated the matter. And finally, and in this particular National Anti-Profiteering Authority, multiple builders were found of negligence, not reducing the price. Imposition of the penalty, cancellation of the registration, etc. If the report of the DGAP recommend that there is a contravention or even non-contravention, but the authority is of the opinion that further investigation is called for in the matter, it may, for the reason to be recorded in writing, refer the matter to the DGAP to cause further investigation or inquiry in accordance with the provision of the Act or the rules. When upon receipt of the report of the DGAP, the authority has reason to believe that there has been contravention of the provision of section 171 in respect of the goods or services other than those covered in the said report, it may, for reason to be recorded within a period of 6 months, direct the DGAP to cause investigation. Such investigation or inquiry shall be deemed to be the new investigation or inquiry, and all the provision of the Rule 129 shall mutatis mutandis apply to the investigation. Following are not worthy. What is that? Any order passed by the authority shall be immediately complied with by the registered person. Authority shall pass the order within 6 months. Opportunity to the being would be given. Authority can now seek a clarification from DGAP on the investigation report submitted by it during the process of determining as to whether the benefit has been passed on to the recipient by way of the reduction in the price. Period of interest at the rate of 18% will be calculated from the date of the collection till the date of returning such amount. If the eligible person does not claim the return of the amount or the person is unidentifiable, then amount would be deposited to the Consumer Welfare Fund always remember, if they like Amul, as like you told Mansa, you told that Amul is collecting that taxes, so they will not be able to identify who has purchased that goods. In that case, the extra amount which they have collected, they will deposit to the consumer welfare fund along with interest. Penalty for profiteering. A registered person who is found to have profited is liable to pay the penalty of 10% such profited amount if the profited amount is not deposited within 30 days of the date of the passing of the order by the authority. Here, profit amount means the amount determined on account of the not passing the benefit to the recipient by way of reduction in the price of the goods or service or both. Application by the consumer. State Screening Committee. Confirming prima facie evidence of profiteering. Standing Committee. Confirm prima facie evidence of profiteering. Then the matter would be directed to DGAP for investigation, and then finally it will goes to the National Anti-Profiteering Authority for determining the quantum and passing appropriate order to ensure the consumer benefit from the reduction price. Is it clear? Any question? Let's wait for 1 minute. Any question? No. So the last point again, which is not important from exam point of view, but there is one changes in the National Anti-Profiteering Authority. The CBIC has notified the Competition Commission of India, CCI, as the authority for deciding on anti-profiteering issue. National anti-profiteering matter would now be decided or would now be checked, identified by the Competition Commission of India from 1st December 2022. Okay. So this is an amendment again, but amendment is not applicable for your term for next May. So therefore, it has not been covered in this particular discussion. But yes, I have told what is the recent amendment, and mostly I have told at respective places in every chapter. Okay, what is the recent amendment? Application for provision of CGST Act Section 20 says that provision of the CGST Act will also apply IGST. So whenever you read the CGST Act in the entire study material, you will find this type of the I can say comment or box. The miscellaneous provision under Chapter 21 of the CGST Act also made applicable to the IGST Act wide Section 20. This sentence you will find at every chapter, most of the chapter. Why? Because of this Section 20, it says that following provision of the CGST would apply to the IGST: scope of supply, composite supply, mixed supply, time and value of the supply, ITC, registration, tax invoice, accounts and records, returns, payment of tax, tax deduction, TCS, assessment, refund, audit, inspection, demand recovery, liability to pay, advance ruling appeal. Every provisions are applicable. CGST Act, same would be of IGST Act. When the tax involved is IGST, the rate of the TDS would be 2% and the rate of the TCS shall not exceed 2%. Presently, the notified rate for the TCS is 1% for IGST. When the penalty is leviable under CGST, yeah, this point is important. I have already discussed, but let me repeat again. When the penalty is leviable under CGST, equivalent amount of SGST would be added. Okay. So, for example, Section 125 of the CGST Act talks about the 25,000 penalty. Then we can say the penalty would be 50,000 rupees. 25,000 CGST, 25,000 SGST. Similarly, we are talking about the late fees under Section 47 for delay filing in the, let's say, GSTR 3B. There's a late fees of 50 rupees per day. It means 25 rupees per day. It means 25 CGST, 25 SGST. So the total amount of the late fees would be 50. Okay. Yes, this is very important. Apportionment of the tax and settlement of the fund. Since CGST and SGST are just separate tax levied concurrently on a transaction, same are identified and can be transferred to the CGST and SGST. But it is not possible in case of IGST. Therefore, it becomes necessary apportionment of IGST into component that can be transferred to the CGST and SGST. All provision come under one section of IGST. Correct. Because section 20 says that we will follow all the provision of the CGST Act for the chapter. Place of the supply, they have made different provisions, correct? We all know section 10, section 7, section 8, section 9, section 10, section 11, section 12, section 13. These are the provision of place of the supply, which are only under IGST. So in the CGST, the place of the supply would be covered or would be discussed of IGST only. Okay. Apportionment. See, first try to understand why the apportionment is required. Try to understand theoretically why the apportionment is required. See, for example, I am registered in Delhi and supplied the goods to Haryana. Because GST is destination-based taxation system, so the tax should accrue to the Haryana. But which tax I have collected? IGST. And I have deposited to the government? IGST. But will it not be apportioned? Yes, obviously it should be apportioned. So because I have disclosed the place of the supply as Haryana, correct? So the total IGST which is being collected, 50% should goes to Haryana and 50% should goes to the center. That is the IGST settlement. That is the IGST settlement. 17 subsection 1. Apportionment of the IGST, section 17 of IGST Act. It says that 17 subsection 1 lays down that in respect of the IGST paid on the following supply, it shall be apportioned. Interstate supply to the unregistered person. Correct? If the transaction is B2C and inter, because IGST would come only when it is interstate supply. So if it is B2C interstate, then yes, or registered or unregistered person, or registered but under composition scheme. So if it is a B2C or B2B but composition levy, so they cannot avail the input tax credit. So that is the last chain. In that case, the IGST, this IGST should be apportioned. Or interstate supply where the registered person is not eligible for input tax credit. I request everyone to give one reply or give one name of the item for which ITC is not available. Or you can even highlight the section number as well. आपको जो भी ठीक लगे, but please give the answer that interstate supply where the registered person is not entitled to claim the input tax credit. Perfect answer is 17 subsection 5, sir. Block credit. We are not entitled to take the ITC. If it is interstate, suppose I have purchased the car from another state. So there would be IGST, but it is block credit. So this IGST, even though I am registered, but I am not entitled to take ITC. So this IGST should be apportioned between the center and the state. 50% goes to center, 50% goes to state. Which state? Where the recipient is registered. How it will be identified? From the GSTR 3B. There is a table 4. There is a table 4B, reversal of input tax credit. Experience है आपको GSTR 3B का? Kaushiki, Mansa and other participant. Do you have the experience of the filing GSTR 3B? Please confirm. Do you have the experience of the GSTR 3B? Fine. I hope it is clear. Then interstate supply is made in the financial to the registered where he does not avail the ITC within the time period, which we have talked about, that 16.4 talk about the ITC to be taken now by November. If not taken, then that has to be apportioned. And thus, tax remain in integrated tax account after expiry of the due date. Now, please note, as per the, oh, no problem. See, this is settled. This is also being settled. Settled means IGST is being apportioned. But as of now, this particular clause, see, practically, it is not being settled. Practically. So, there are two concepts, 16 subsection 4 ka time limit where the ITC is restricted 16.4 and one ITC is being restricted because of the place of the supply rule. That one concept is there. So, these ITC, actually it is block credit. It is not available. It is not block under 17.5. But it is not available. That IGST should also be apportioned. But as of now, this IGST is not apportioned. Just I'm talking about the practically. Import by unregistered person or by a registered person paying the tax under composition. Import where the registered is not eligible. Or import made in the financial year where he does not avail the ITC within the specified period. So in that case, whenever the supply is being made to the registered person under composition levy or unregistered person or block credit, then that ITC, then IGST should be apportioned to the center and the state. Methodology of apportion, 50% to the center, 50% to the state. The amount of the tax calculated at the rate equivalent to the CGST on similar interest rates be apportioned between to the central government. So 50 center, 50 state. The balance amount. Okay. If the place of the supply cannot be determined separately, the balance amount shall be apportioned to each center and state. So yes, this is important. This is called as ad hoc settlement. See, if I am supplying the goods to Haryana and I have reported the place of the supply, then it is clear. Correct? It is clear that the state is Haryana. But suppose some common IGST is being there for which place of the supply is not being reported or not identified, then that particular IGST will goes under ad hoc settlement. How ad hoc settlement will be done? The balance amount shall be apportioned to each of the state. Instead of 50% to one state, they will allocate 50% to all the state. This is the reason. See, this is the reason. See, because they like to reduce the ad hoc settlement. Who? Central government like to reduce the ad hoc settlement. So for this, I can give you two main changes in the GST law, which practically would be useful for you. From 1/4/2019, offsetting the input tax credit, there is a changes in the process. Earlier, if there is a CGST ka tax liability, we will take the ITC of CGST first, then IGST. Similarly, if there is an SGST ka tax liability, we will take SGST ITC first and then IGST. So this process, which was earlier, which has been reversed, means if you have the tax liability of CGST or tax liability of SGST, you will take first from IGST. Why they have made this? So that unallocated IGST amount should be reduced so that ad hoc settlement would be minimized. Point number one. Point number two. In July 2022, last year, they have amended the GSTR 3B Table 4. They have amended the pattern of reporting of GSTR 3B in Table 4. Why they have amended? To increase the actual settlement and reduce the ad hoc settlement. How it has been amended, we'll discuss in the last class, that is GST return. I hope you will have you got more clarity. Okay. Now the apportionment, including that is okay. Transfer of apportion tax to the account of the central state government, apportion of IGST in respect of B2B, wherein ITC is taken by the recipient. Amount of the IGST in respect of B2B supplies, where ITC is taken by the recipient IGST not apportioned above may for the time being on the recommendation of the council be apportioned at the rate of 50% to the center and 50% to the state. Such amount shall be adjusted against the amount apportioned under subsection 2 and 3. Okay. Administration under GST. So there are chapter 2 administration section 3 to section 6. Officer under CGST Act, section 3 of the CGST Act. Sorry, we'll take the break in just 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. We'll complete this chapter and then we'll then moving to the job worker, we will take the break of 10 minutes. ठीक है. Sorry, आज थोड़ा लेट हो गया तो बट हम कंप्लीट कर लेते हैं ये वाला. Government has appointed the following class of the officer and the officer subordinate to them for the purpose of the CGST Act. The principal chief commissioner and then chief commissioner, then principal commissioner, then commissioner, उसके नीचे additional commissioner, उसके नीचे joint commissioner, then deputy commissioner, then assistant commissioner, and after that commissioner of the central tax audit and appeal, there is a separate commissioner. ठीक है, additional commissioner, joint commissioner, etc. So they have appointed the following officer, and in bottom of that, in below that, like assistant commissioner, they have the superintendent, they have the inspector, they have the tax inspector. So they are the further subordinate to them. Section 4, appointment of the officer under the CGST, the board against CBIC, in addition to the officer, as may be notified by the government in section 3, appoint such person as it may think fit to be the officer under the CGST Act. So like they have appointed inspector, they have appointed superintendent. Without prejudice to the provision of section 4, the board by order authorize any officer referred to in clause A to H to appoint officer of central tax below the rank of the assistant commissioner. So these are the inspector. So top is highest. This is principal chief commissioner is the topmost order. It is in the decreasing order. Top principal chief commissioner, then chief commissioner, then principal commissioner, then commissioner. So it is decreasing order. Power of the officer under CGST Act, subject to the such condition and inform limitation as the board may impose, an officer may exercise the power and discharge the duty conferred or imposed on him under the CGST Act. Okay. An officer of the central tax may exercise the power and discharge the duty conferred or imposed under CGST Act or any other officer of the central tax who is subordinate to him. The commissioner may, subject to such condition and a limitation, delegate his power to any other officer. So time to time they are issuing the circular. Time to time they are issuing the circular. I'll show you one circular for that. So you will find very interesting. So you can correlate also. Okay. Give me 1 minute. I'll open that circular. So you will identify that how the work is being allocated. Just confirm that you are able to see the screen. You are able to see the circular number 3. You are able to see the circular number 3. Just confirm. I hope you all are able to see the screen and circular is in front of you. That is number 3. I am giving you one example. There can be another circular also. And obviously circular will not form part of your syllabus, but again I am sharing with you so that you have the practical experience also. Like they are saying the principal commissioner or commissioner of the central tax will have the power of 67 inspection, provision of section 78. Additional or the joint commissioner will have the power of section 68 subsection 1, 2, 5 and 9. 71 access to the premises. Section 81, section 129 like detention, seizure of the goods. Similarly, Rule 139, Rule 140, Deputy Commissioner, they have the power of the following section, subsection, correct? Similarly, they have given the power to the Superintendent, Section 35, subsection 6, likewise. So these inspector, they have the power to the 56 Rule, Section 68, Rule 58. So these are the circular. There may be some other circular also, by which the power is being bifurcated, allocated. So go back to the provision. They are saying commissioner, subject to such condition, delegate his power to any other officer who is subordinate to him. Notwithstanding anything contained in this section, an appellate authority shall not exercise and discharge the duty conferred or imposed on any other officer of the central tax. So same section 6 of CGST Act without prejudice to the provision, the officer appointed under SGST, UTGST are authorized to be the proper officer for the purpose of CGST. Section 6 talks about the cross empowerment. What is the main point of Section 6? Cross empowerment. Suppose you are registered in the GST and I am a SGST officer. Your jurisdiction is being covered in me. Suppose there is a late fees or there is a refund order. Let's say we are talking about the refund order. Okay. So when you apply for the refund, let's say there is a 10,000 rupees in the CGST, 10,000 in SGST. So when I will issue the refund order for SGST, I will also act as a CGST officer and I can allow to issue the refund of 20,000 while taking the registration. Another example, while taking the registration, suppose now I am a center officer. Okay. Your jurisdiction is fall under my area. Okay. Now, when I will issue the certificate of registration in the capacity of the CGST officer, I will also act in the capacity of SGST. So you are not required to get two certificates. You are not required to apply two times. Correct? Because in the intrastate supply, we all know there is a CGST, there is a SGST. So it is called as a cross empowerment. Section 6 is basically talk about the cross empowerment. It says that officer appointed under SGST are also authorized to be the proper officer for the purpose of CGST. Subject to the condition that where an officer issue an order under CGST, he shall be issue an order under SGST as authorized by the SGST UTGST Act. Where a proper officer under SGST or UTGST shall be initiated any proceeding, no proceeding shall be initiated. This point is very important. Suppose an officer of SGST has initiated the inspection, then CGST will not start or not initiate the inspection again. Because if the SGST has initiated, then CGST will not initiate. But point to be noted, again, this point I'm telling you for your practical understanding. DGGST, Director General of GST, DGGI, Director General of Intelligence, DG Audit, these are the authority having the pan India jurisdiction. So might be, suppose you are registered in Haryana, okay, and I am your SGST officer. So if I have initiated any action, then CGST will not take any action on you of Haryana. But yes, DGGST, DGGI will have the pan India jurisdiction. They can take the action because they have the territorial of all India. They have the territory of all India. Any proceeding for rectification, appeal, revision, wherever applicable, an officer appointed under CGST shall not lies before an SGST, etc. So अभी clarity हुआ? Do you have an मतलब कि अभी कुछ clear हुआ ना ये वाला point? बड़ा interesting point है ये. This is really interesting point. Cross empowerment, how the power would be allocated. What is the area of every officer? What is the hierarchy? You got some clarity? Clarity मिला ना? ठीक है. Special procedure for corporate debtor undergoing the corporate insolvency resolution process. The IBC 2016, once an entity default certain threshold amount, the CIRP, corporate insolvency resolution process, get triggered, and the management of such entity, that is called as a corporate debtors, and its asset waste with IRP, interim resolution professional and resolution professional. IRP or RP continue to run the business and operation of said entity as a going concern basis, and they would be responsible for compliance with all the laws till the insolvency proceeding is over and an order is passed by the NCLT. The definition of the terms corporate debtor, CIRP, IRP and IRP can be referred in the IBC. They have given one circular 138 in the GST using the power of section 148. The corporate debtor who undergoes CIRP is to be treated as distinct person of the corporate debtor and shall be liable to take the new registration in every state. within 30 days of the appointment of IRP. Once the IRP is being appointed, professional is being appointed, then they have to take the registration in every state, like as a distinct person. However, corporator who have met default in furnishing GSTR1 and the returns under GST would not be required to obtain a separate registration with effect from the date of appointment of IRP. The new registration shall be required only once, and in case of any changes after initial appointment, it would be deemed to be the change of authorized signatory and it would not be considered as a distinct person. So IRP and RP shall be liable to furnish the return, make the payment, comply with the provision of the GST during CIRP period. Last for this chapter, and then we'll take the break and then start the job work chapter. Manner of determination of the commencement and termination of the time. This is not the GST law. This is section 9 of the General Clause Act 1897. Section 9 of the General Clause Act lays down the provisions relating to the commencement and termination of the time. It stipulates that in any central act or regulation made after the commencement of this act, it shall be sufficient for the purpose of excluding the first in a series of a day or any other period of time to use the word from, and for the purpose of including the last in a series of the day or any other period of the time to use the word to. In simple word, while computing the time, the rules is to exclude the first day and include the last day. Court have held the word from is akin to after, and that word from if used for the purpose and reference for the computation. For example, from a stated date, that stated date is prima facie exclude from computation. Although on some occasion court have taken a view that the question as to whether the stated date should or should not be so excluded should be decided according to the word from occur. They have given one case, Supreme Court in case of Messrs. Econ Limited versus ROM Industries Limited has also taken a similar view on this point and decided while computing the period of limitation, the day on which the offense is committed, the date of course of action has to be excluded. Another point which need to mention that 3 subsection 35 of the General Clause Act define the expression month to mean a month reckoned according to the British calendar. Allahabad High Court has held that where the legislature has stipulated that period of limitation in terms of the month, such stipulation can only means a calendar month and not 30 days. Okay, that's it. So now we can take a break of say 10 minutes only. We'll resume at 8 o'clock. We'll resume at 8 o'clock with job work chapter, and it is very practical chapter. You will find very interesting job work. Okay. So Ashok ji, kindly start the break for 10. Discuss about the changes with respect to the miscellaneous provisions. Section 168, power to issue the instruction or the direction. Following amendment has been carried out in the section 168. Okay. Consequent to the amendment in the 151, the section 168 has also been appropriately amended, enable the jurisdictional commissioner to exercise the power to call for information. Owing to the substitution of section 48 with effect from 1122, section 168 has also been amended and section 38 के कारण भी amend हुआ है. What was the amendment? 168 subsection 2, wherever the reference was given of section 38, basically it is GSTR2. Okay. So the reference has been omitted. The commissioner is specified in section 2 clause 91 subsection 5, section 5 subsection 3, 25 subsection 9, 35 subsection 3 and 4. So all the reference has been omitted. Then the no information obtained under section 150 and 151 to be used for the purpose of any proceeding unless an opportunity has been given. So with effect from 1/1/2022, 152 subsection 1 has been amended. No information shall be used. Which information? Obtained under 150 and 151 without giving the opportunity of being heard. So accordingly, section 152 subsection 1 has been amended. Okay. So now the anti-profiteering authority increased to 5 years from 4 years. So initially it was 4 years, then it was increased to 5 years. And finally it was extended to till November 2021. Okay. And from 1 December 2022, 1 December 2022, correct. And it was, which I have already discussed, that it is being shifted to the CCI, Chief Competition Commission of India. So these are the all changes with respect to the this chapter we have discussed. Now we are moving to the job work. Before that, let me show you that website which I was talking about. Na? That is a GST Council website. Okay. I can find the advance ruling authority and decision given by the appellate authority of advance ruling. So I can select the state and description. So here you can find the decision given by the R and AAAR. These two decisions you will able to identify, but High Court and Supreme Court decision, you have to visit to the respective High Court website or Supreme Court website. Or otherwise, it is available by some private website also. Okay. Mansa, I have given your answer. I hope it is clear. कौशिक अभी तो डिस्कशन किया था हमने 150 152. It should be evergreen means initially they have set up the different authority. They have separated the different national anti-profiteering authority. Now because of the time the work is being reduced, the number of cases are lesser. So it has not been stopped, but it has been merged with another entity. That is CCI. It has not been stopped. It's not that now there is no anti-profiteering case. If there is a case, it will be referred to the CCI. Now let me move to the job work. So first, what is the job work? Section 2 clause 68 define any treatment or the process undertaken by the person on the goods belonging to the another registered person. Do you find any similarity between GST Council and R? Both provide class. No. GST Council is it? See, how to explain? You mean to say what is? See, GST Council is an autonomous body. Okay. So what the GST Council is doing? GST Council is not doing any work. They are meeting. GST Council, I hope you have read that article of the GST Council, Article 279, capital A. So GST Council is a basically joint forum of the central state. They come together and they are discussing certain matter. If all the state agrees or majority of the state agrees, then it will be recommended by the council. Council is being headed by the finance minister. GST Council meeting is headed by the finance minister. So they are only giving the approval. There is a website, GST Council Secretariat. Basically, what is the secretariat work? So they are doing the coordination between the state and center. That's it. So in their website, they are compiling the order passed by every state advance. See, R is limited to the state. It is not a central like authority. AAR and AAR for every state. So they are receiving the order from every state. So that council is basically doing the aggregation and uploading on their website. So there is no connection between council and R. Altogether, they are the two separate work, two separate bodies. Clear? R will provide the classification and every point which we have discussed in section 97, subsection 2, the areas, classification, time of the supply, value of the supply, etc. Okay. What is the job work? Job work means any treatment or the process undertaken by a person on goods, which goods belonging to the another, and please note, another person should be registered person only. If Mr. A is doing the work of Mr. B, but Mr. B is not the registered, then will it be called as a job work? Answer would be no. Because in the case of the job work section 143, which we are going to discuss, there are various responsibility has been casted, has been fixed on the principal, and therefore they are talking about the principal should be registered only. Correct? Job work is a supply of service. Correct? Very true. Very true. So supply the job work service. Is it a mandatory registration? If it is an interested supply, let's repetition of certain question. Let me ask certain question. It's a repetition of earlier chapter. Whether job work, if I'm suppose Mr. A is registered, Mr. A is not registered. He is providing the job work service from Haryana to the principal who is registered in Delhi. So he is providing the service from another state. Is it mandatory registration or not? Answer is earlier it was mandatory, but job worker was relaxed not to take registration till their turnover crossed threshold limit. Initially it was only for job worker, and after that it was extended to the every service provider, meaning thereby interstate supply the service. Answer is yes, even without registration can be provided till 20 lakhs or 10 lakh as the case may be. Time of supply, we all know there is a provision of section 13, subsection 2, which is talking about the forward charge. Correct? Na? So the time of supply would be calculated according to section 13(1)(3) of the CGST Act and read with section 31. So time limit to issue the tax invoice. Normally the tax invoice would be issued within rule 47 talks about that time limit to issue the invoice would be 30 days. And in case of the banking, it is 45 days. And in case of the distinct person at some entity, it is till quarter also. So there is a different time limit in section 31, subsection 2. Correct. So time of supply would be calculated according to the respective provision. Value, yes, it will be determined according to section 15. So these are the repetition. So we are not touching upon that because it is a separate chapter which has already been to the job worker on the basis of the delivery challan. There is no requirement of payment of tax. If you refer the rule 55, delivery challan, which talks about delivery challan can be prepared in the 4 cases, out of which one case was goods sent to the job worker. Okay. It means the principal can send the goods or capital goods to the job worker on the basis of the delivery challan, only condition that these goods, means input and capital goods, should come back within a period of 1 year and 3 years. 1 year is for input, 3 years for capital goods. Further, this 1 year can be extended by another 1 year, and this 3 year can be another extended by 2 more years subject to the approval from the commissioner. So if I talk about the total time limit, initially 1 year, 3 years for input and capital goods, this 1 year can another be extended for 1 more year. So the total 2 years for input, the Case of capital goods, yes, can take the approval for 2 more years. So effectively, the total time limit is 5 years. If this goods or capital goods are not coming back within this time period, then on the expiry, it will be treated as deemed supply and need to pay the tax along with interest. We'll discuss this provision in detail, but just I have given you the overview. Okay. So that yes, he can send the goods, no requirement of the payment of tax. Also, suppose Mr. A is a principal and Mr. B is a job worker. A is purchasing the goods from Mr. X. So with A can also instruct Mr. X to deliver the goods or capital goods directly to B without being entered into the premises of A. Okay. And Section 19, there is an input tax credit. Yes, A can take the input tax credit on these goods or capital goods which is being directly delivered to the job worker. One year and 3 years. However, this time limit of 1 year and 3 years would not be applicable to the mold, die, jigs, fixture or tools which is consumed in the process itself. Okay. Now, after processing the goods, job worker may clear the goods to the another job worker or dispatch the goods to any of the place of the business of principal only without payment of tax, that is delivery challan, or supply to the ultimate consumer against applicable payment of tax. Who will pay the tax? This point we will discuss. If can he supply? Answer is no. It will be supplied by principal on the basis of the payment of tax only. But in that case, there is some point which we will discuss. See, now the work is being completed. A has sent the goods to B. B has completed the process. He can send the goods to another job worker, or he can return the goods to the principal, or he can supply. If he supply, for that there is one additional condition which we talked about. Okay. If you like to supply the goods directly from the job worker premises, in that case, he has to be registered person. If not registered, then his address should be added in the additional place of the business of the principal. Let me repeat again. After processing, the principal has the option to clear the goods directly from the job worker premises without payment of the tax, or he can export also on fulfillment of the condition. The facility on payment of tax may be available by the principal by declaring the premises of the job worker as an additional place of the business. However, declaration is not mandatory if the job worker is himself registered in the GST or he is engaged in the notified goods. So government has the power to notify the goods to relax that this declaration is not required in some category of the goods. Okay. In such case, the supply of the goods will be regarded as supply by the principal and not by the job worker. Please note that even though we are supplying the goods from the job worker premises, but it will be treated that it is being supplied by the principal and that liability to pay the tax will be on the principal only. Okay. Resultant, it is clarified that the time, value, place would has to be determined in the hand of the principal, irrespective of the location of the job worker, place of the business. Can you tell me that suppose A is registered in Delhi, he is a principal Haryana. Mr. B is unregistered party in, let's say, Haryana, or B is registered party in Haryana. Like now he is sending Mr. A has sold the goods to Mr. C in Haryana. Whether it is interstate supply and IGST would be charged, or intrastate supply and C+S would be charged. Please answer my question. A is principal registered in Delhi. B is a job worker registered in Haryana. Now B has completed the process. The goods is being sold to Mr. C. Then which tax would be charged? It will be IGST or C+S. Question number 1. Which tax? Question number 2, who will raise the invoice? Who will raise the invoice on C? Who will raise the invoice on C? No answer? So fine. Which tax would be charged? It will be IGST. Who will issue the tax invoice? Obviously A, because this clarify that supply of the goods will be regarded as supply by the principal and not by the job worker. Who will issue the invoice on C? A will issue the invoice on C. For job work charges, obviously B will raise the tax invoice to A. But I am talking about when the goods are being supplied to C, who will raise the tax invoice? Obviously Mr. A, because read this language, the supply of the goods will be regarded as supply by the principal and not by the job worker. It will be treated by the supply by the principal, Mr. A, not by the job worker. Resultant, it is clarified that the time, value, and place has to be determined in the hand of the principal. So place of the supply would be determined in the hand of the principal. Therefore, it is IGST. Clear? Further, the invoice would have to be issued by the principal. Correct? So Mr. A. It is also clarified that in case of the export, directly from the job worker place of the business premises, the LUT on bond, LUT or bond as the case may be, shall be executed by the principal. These principal would apply mutatis mutandis in case of the supply of the waste and scrap generated during the job worker. Yes, this is again important point, that what would be the treatment of the waste and scrap generated during the job work process. Okay. The principal is located in the state A, the job worker is in the state B, and the recipient is in the state C. In such case, the supply is made from the job worker place of the business. The invoice will be issued by the supplier located in state A to the recipient located in state C. The said transaction will be interstate, and in case the recipient is also located in the state A, then it will be intra and C pluses would be charged. I hope it is clear. Procedure for sending the goods to job worker. Before supplying the goods to the job worker, the principal would be required to send the intimation. Now underline the word intimation to the proper officer. This is important. Before supplying the goods to the job worker, the principal would be required to send intimation to the proper officer containing the details of the description of input intended to be used by the principal and nature of the processing to be carried out by the job worker. This intimation shall also contain the details of other job worker, if any. The input or capital goods shall be sent to the job worker under the cover of the delivery challan issued by the principal. The delivery challan shall be issued even for the input or capital goods sent directly to the job worker. The delivery challan shall contain the details, the specified details. Along with delivery challan, e-way bill would be issued as per the relevant provisions. Now, point to be noted. The intimation to the proper officer would be in one form. That form number is ITC04. The form number is ITC04. Okay. The responsibility for keeping the account for input/capital goods. The responsibility for keeping proper accounts for the input and capital goods lies with the principal. I told you that there is a certain responsibility which is casted on the principal, and that is the reason when the definition, it says that the job worker should do the work of another registered person, because he is responsible to keep the books of accounts. He is responsible to intimate the proper officer. Suppose if that person is not registered, principal is not registered, how he can give the intimation? How he can maintain the books of accounts, because he is not covered by the GST rules and regulations. Mutatis mutandis means same provision. Like if you refer the rule 96 capital A, which we have discussed in the export chapter, export, import and refund. So what was that? Say rule 96A talking about the LUT in case of export. And in the last clause 6, it is saying the above provision will also be mutatis mutandis applicable to the SEZ. It means this same provision would apply on the another transaction. So it means LUT. The rule 96A was talking about export, but last clause says that yes, LUT can be extended to the supply to the SEZ unit. Means same provision would be applicable to the another category of the transactions also. And that is the meaning of mutatis mutandis. E-way bill, Mansa, देखो, E-way bill है ना, E-way bill, if you refer the rule 138 of the CGST rule, it says that the person who is responsible for the movement of the goods, he has to generate the E-way bill. So in this case, the E-way bill can be generated by the principal, that is A, even can be generated by B, or even can be generated by C also. Can be generated by C. For example, C is generating the E-way bill, then he will select inward. Suppose A is generating the E-way bill, then he will select outward. Because in this case, probably B will not have any document, so he will not be able to issue. But yes, like sending the goods, principal to job worker to principal, any party can issue the E-way bill. Any one party can issue the E-way bill. So if you refer the form, rule 138, E-way bill ka form, it is talking about, I'll show you one form, so you will have the practical idea also. Give me 1 minute, I'll show you that form also. So you have asked one relevant question. Let me show you that on the screen. So एक बार please confirm करें, you are able to see that E-way bill system 1 5.1 number point generate new. Are you able to see that screen, right? ठीक है. So for example, A had supplied the goods to C. ठीक है. Then A can generate the E-way bill by selecting the outward. C can select, A is making the supply to C, so C can select, or C can generate also E-way bill by selecting inward. So any party, any one party can generate the E-way bill, there is no problem. There is a concept of bill to ship to model, and there is a concept of bill from dispatch from model. See, let's say there are 4 orders. Again, quickly I will tell you, very interesting. Say in this example which I was talking about, A has sold the goods to Mr. C. A is located in Delhi. C is located in, let's say, Punjab. Okay. And the goods were lying at B location, who is in Haryana. Let's say, suppose A is making the tax in, A is making the E-way bill. So A will select outward, automatically A's GST number and A address will come. A GST number and A address would come. And bill to, they will write the C GST number and C ka address would come. Try to identify, on one side it is bill from, bill to, on right side dispatch from, dispatch to, or ship to. This right side will show you that from where the goods is being picked and where the goods are going to be delivered. and left hand side will tell you that who has generated the document and on whom the document is being generated. Now, please tell me in this example, please tell me from where the goods has been picked up. You tell me from where the goods has been picked up. You tell me from where the goods has been picked up for delivering to Mr. C at Punjab. Goods कहां से start हुआ था? Picking कहां से हुई थी? Job worker premises. What is that? Haryana. So, is it right to mention Delhi? Is it correct to mention Delhi? Answer would be no, sir. It should not come Delhi because it is saying dispatch from. So, there is a transaction type. There are 4 categories of the transaction. One is regular. When there are 2 parties, then regular. Another is bill to ship to model. And third is bill from dispatch from model. Bill from dispatch from model. And once you select the transaction type as bill from dispatch from model, once you select the transaction type as bill from dispatch from model, you would be able to add it. And here you have to put Haryana so that if the officer verify the document, verify that goods, he can understand that yes, tax invoice is issued by A to C, but yes, goods is being picked up from Haryana and going to Punjab. Let's say it is a bill to ship to model. I have to select second category, and last category is combination of 2 and 3. That is possible. So I hope it is clear. Give me the quick confirmation that it is clear. Yes. So we can move to the normal discussion again. If the goods were not received within the stipulated, if the goods were not received, what is that time limit? 1 year, 3 year, or extended time period. If the goods were not received within the stipulated time, then it will be treated as deemed supply. It will be treated as deemed supply. Okay. In case of the input or capital goods are not received back within a period of 1 year or 3 year or extended time period, then it shall be deemed to be a supply from the principal to the job worker from the day when it was sent. Please note, it is not that expiry of 1 year, 3 year or extended time period, it will be treated supply. No, it will be treated the supply when you actually send the goods. It means you have to pay the interest for 1 year or 3 year or extended time period. The goods sent for job worker acquire the character of the supply when input or capital goods were sent for job worker are neither received back or nor supplied by the principal from the place of the business of the job worker within 1 year or 3 years. It may be noted that the responsibility for sending the goods as well as bringing back has been casted on the principal because he is registered person. Such cases where the input or capital goods are neither returned nor supplied, then the principal would issue the invoice for the same, declare the supply in is the GST R1, pay the taxes in GST R3B. The month in which this time period, 1 year, 3 year or extended time period is being expired. Date of the supply. The date of the supply shall be the date on which such input or capital goods were initially sent to the job worker. Further, the interest for the intervening period shall also be payable on the tax by the principal. If such goods are returned by the job worker after the stipulated time period, the same would be treated as a supply by the job worker to the principal, and the job worker would be liable to pay the GST if he is liable for registrations. Further, it may be reiterated that there is no requirement of either returning back or supplying the goods as far as molds, dies, jigs, fixtures and tools are concerned. For the purpose of job work, input include intermediate goods arising from the treatment or the process carried out on the input by the principal or the job worker. See, the above provision has been summarized. So the principal supply the goods after the recipient for the job worker. What is the first? He is sending the goods to the job worker. Then the goods is being returned once it is being completed within the prescribed time, then there is no tax. Okay. Or goods are not returned. Okay. Or supplied from the job worker premises within the prescribed time. Okay. Then not returned or supplied, then it will be treated as deemed supply by the principal. Date of supply is the date on which the goods were initially sent to the job worker. Take a principal to pay the tax along with interest. Then if the principal supply the goods directly from the job worker within the time period, that export no tax, supply within India, principal has to pay the tax. Principal supply the goods after receipt from job worker, again same thing, export no tax, or supply within India, principal to pay tax. Now, taking input credit, section 19 we are talking about. Okay. 19 subsection 1, the principal shall be allowed input tax credit on input sent to the job worker for job worker, notwithstanding anything contained in 16(2)(b). Now you have to tell me what is the 16(2)(b). You have to tell me what is the 16(2)(b). Please tell me what is the section 16 subsection 2 clause B. Waiting for your answer. If you do not have the idea, please tell me. No idea, sir. What is the 16 subsection 2 clause B? The ITC is the heart of GST, correct? These provision you should remember even by section number also. The provision of the input tax credit, because you are now CA final student. So that I can expect from you. No answer. Oh my God. 16 subsection 2 is talking about the condition for taking the ITC, and out of that clause B is that goods or service has been received. Goods or service has been received. Now, in that case, when goods are being directly supplied, see, I'm again taking that example, A, B, and Mr. X, who is a supplier of A. A has raised the tax invoice on A, and he has sent the goods to, X has sent the goods directly to B, and X has raised the tax invoice to A. Can A take the input tax credit because he has not actually received the goods? The answer would be yes. 19 subsection 2 say that notwithstanding anything contained in the 16(2)(b), the principal, that is Mr. A, shall be entitled to take the credit if the input are directly sent to the job worker for job work without being first brought into the place of the business of Mr. A, that is principal. Where the input sent for job worker are not received back by the principal after completion of the job work, or otherwise are not supplied, then what is the time limit? We have already discussed. Then it will be treated as within a period. It shall be deemed that such input has been supplied by the principal to the job worker on the day when the said input was sent out. It means from the initial date, provided where the input are sent directly, the period of 1 year shall be counted from the date of the receipt of the input by the job worker. Date of the receipt of the input by the job worker. The principal shall, subject to such condition and restriction as may be prescribed, be allowed input tax credit on capital goods to a job worker. Same things which we have discussed for input, same thing is for capital goods. Again, it will be treated that it has been received by the principal, deemed received. Tick. And again, if it is not received back, then it will be treated as deemed supply. And the proviso says the date, the 3 year will be counted from the date of the receipt of the capital goods by the job worker. Notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 3 or subsection 6 shall apply, shall apply to the mold die X fixtures rule sent out to the job worker for job work. So what is the meaning of nothing contained in this section shall apply? What is the meaning? Can anybody tell me? What is the meaning of nothing contained in this section shall apply? It means the above provisions will not apply in case of the mul disjunction fractures. Correct? Why no tax arise when the goods sent it back to the principal after job work in the prescribed time period? Because it is not a sale. It is only the process. So they do not like to see within the prescribed time you're talking about it back to the principal. See, they are giving the facility. See, we all know that we can move the goods. So when we need to pay the GST, if it is a supply, मानसा में जीएसटी कब पे करना पड़ता है जब सप्लाई हो, लेकिन जब मैं गुड्स जॉब वर्कर को देता हूं दैट इट इज नॉट ए सेल, इट इज ओनली फॉर द प्रोसेसिंग इंटरमीडिएट प्रोसेस. ठीक है, सो दे हैव रिलैक्स्ड दैट नो रिक्वायरमेंट टू पे द जीएसटी बिकॉज इट इज बीइंग गिवन फॉर द जॉब वर्क प्रोसेस. सो नाइदर principal will pay the tax for a moment and when he's giving back he will not pay the tax. That is the reason. Is it clear? Now one question to all of you. Can you please tell me the difference between this and the proviso? Mansas, here we are talking about supply of the goods. Supply of the service would always be there. Say if the job worker is registered and let's say he's charging 15,000 rupees, then he has to raise the tax invoice. There is no doubt. The doubt is only for goods, whether it will be treated as a supply of the goods or not. If it is coming within the prescribed time, no problem. It is not treated goods. I'm talking about goods. Service would always be there. There is no doubt about that. If he is registered, then he has to raise the tax invoice. If he is not registered, we all know till 20 lakhs, we can supply even without GST. Make sense? इसमें और इसमें मेन अंतर क्या है? व्हाट इज द मेन डिफरेंस? मेजर डिफरेंस क्या है ऊपर वाले में और नीचे वाले में? मेजर डिफरेंस, I'm giving you 1 minute, whether it is subsection 6 or whether it is subsection 3, same thing. So subsection 6 talking about for capital goods, subsection 3 is talking about for input. In this case, they are talking about the deemed supply. If A is sending the goods to B, then date of removal would be the date of removal by A would be the date of supply. If it is being directly sent by X to B, then it will be deemed supply of not date of the removal, but date of the receipt by B. Thank you so much. First is date of sent out. If it is being moved from principal to the job worker, then deemed supply would be date of removal. And if it is being directly supplied by supplier of principal to the job worker, in that case, date when the job worker would be receiving that goods, input or capital goods, that would be the deemed supply date. Thank you so much, Kausik. Very nice. Now, rule 45. Rule 45 talking about certain condition. Okay, the input, semi-finished and capital goods shall be sent under the cover of the Challan, that is delivery Challan, issued by the principal, including where such goods are sent directly to the job worker and where the goods are sent from job worker to the another job worker, or the Challan may be issued. Please note, in this case moment, the Challan can be issued either by the principal to the job worker, or even job worker can also issue the delivery Challan, provided that Challan issued by the principal may be endorsed. So there is one more facility, that on the when the original Challan is being given by A to B, he can also endorse and send the goods to the another job worker, or send the goods again back to the principal. It is also possible. The challan issued by the principal shall contain the detail as specified in the Rule 55. So the Rule 55 is talking about basically, the Rule 55 is talking about the content of the delivery challan. So what should be the content? Date, date of the delivery challan, number, GST number, etc., value, tax. So there are certain content which you have to ensure that that content should be present on your delivery challan. What is the ITC-04? The details of the challan in respect to the goods dispatched to the job worker or received from a job worker during a quarter shall be included in the ITC-04 furnished for that period on or before the 25th of the month succeeding the said quarter or within such further period as may be prescribed. So now there is certain amendment which let me tell you. एक मिनट दीजिएगा मुझे. Give me 1 minute. I'll take only 1 minute. I'll take only 1 minute. So that we can discuss at this point of time only the amendment with respect to the job work. So frequency of ITC-04 revised from quarterly to half yearly or yearly. It depend upon if your aggregate turnover does not exceed if it is exceed 5 crore, then you have to file half yearly basis. The period of 6 consecutive months commencing on 1st April and first quarter in respect of the principal whose aggregate turnover during the immediate preceding financial year exceed 5 crore. Okay. And if your turnover does not exceed 5 crore, then for entire financial year, you have to file one ITC-4. It means half yearly would be for the larger taxpayer and yearly would be for the small taxpayer. What would be the frequency? If it is greater than 5 crore, then on half yearly basis, that is for April to September, the due date would be 25th October. And for October to March, due date would be 25th April. And on annual basis, then it has to be filed by 25th April. So this particular changes was made in the ITC-04. Okay, so let me go back to the main discussion. So provided that any extension are not written, where the input or capital goods are not written, any extension of the time limit notified by the commissioner shall be deemed to be notified by the commissioner. It means if the CGST commissioner will notify, it will be treated that it has been notified by the SGST commissioner also. Where the input or capital goods are not returned to the principal within the time limit given in section 143, it shall be deemed that it has been supplied by the principal and they have to report in the GSTR 1 and pay the taxes in the GSTR 3B. For the purpose of this expression, capital goods shall include plant and machinery as defined in explanation to section 17. for determining the value of exempt supply as referred to in 17 subsection 3, the value of land building shall be taken as same as adopted for the purpose of paying stamp duty. The value of the security shall be taken as 1% of the sale value of that security. Okay. So we are not required to discuss this analysis. We have already done a detailed discussion. Input capital goods, another 2 year that we have discussed. Let's read the example. A supplier of the notebook for school sent the paper of required dimension and GSM to the job worker for making the notebook as per the design given by him. However, the government changed the specification of the notebook for supply to its school. The supplier sent a fresh stock of paper with fresh instruction to the job worker and instruct him to hold the earlier consignment in stock till a buyer is found. The new notebook are easily sold, but the paper and semi-finished notebook of the old design lies in the godown of the job worker for over a period of 1 year. Hence, sending of the paper by the notebook supply to the job worker in the first lot will be treated as deemed supply and thus tax would be payable on the same. Special procedure for sending the goods for job worker. The procedure for sending the goods of the job worker in accordance with Circular 38 has been discussed below. Yes, Circular 38 is given the detailed process how the goods can be sent. Now, this point we have to read. When the goods are sent by the principal to only one job worker, principal has to send the input or capital goods to the job worker under the cover of the delivery challan issued by him. Such delivery challan should contain the detail specified in the Rule 55. Namely date and number of the delivery challan, name, address and GST number of the consignor and consignee, HSN code, description, quantity. So these are the content which you can refer the chapter 10. The principal shall prepare in triplicate the delivery challan for sending the goods to the job worker. 2 copies of the challan may be sent to the job worker. The job worker should send 1 copy of the delivery challan while returning the same to the principal back. Okay. Further, the principal would be required to send the intimation to the jurisdictional officer. ITC 04 will serve as intimation. Okay. This intimation will contain the details of the description of the input intended to be sent by the principal and the nature of the processing to be carried out by the job worker. Okay. When the goods are sent from one job worker to the another job worker, in such case, the goods may remove under the cover of delivery challan issued, this point to be underlined, either by the principal or by the job worker. Alternatively, the delivery challan issued by the principal, it can also be endorsed by the one job worker while sending the goods to the another job worker. Okay. Description, the same process may be repeated for the subsequent moment. When the goods are returned to the principal by the job worker, then job worker should send 1 copy of the delivery challan which originally is received from the principal while returning the goods. When the goods are sent directly by the principal to the job worker, okay, in this case the goods may move from the place of the business of the supplier like X directly to the job worker with a copy of the invoice issued by the supplier in the name of the buyer. So when X is sending the goods, directly to B, it can be sent on the basis of the tax invoice issued to A, main principal. Okay. With a copy of invoice issued by the supplier in the name of the buyer, the job worker's name and address should also be mentioned as consignee. Like we have discussed bill to ship to model. It is nothing but the bill to ship to model. So like quickly going to the EV bill. Here, suppose X is sending the goods directly to B. So X will select outward. X will select tax invoice. He will select the invoice number. Here it will comes A and here it will comes A. X, here the supplier is X and here the customer of that particular goods is A. But goods were dispatched from X ka location only, X premises or X location. But here the goods are not going to A's location. Here the goods are going to the B's address, that is Haryana. So in the transaction type, instead of regular, second option, bill to ship to model would be selected, bill to ship to model would be selected, and after that this address would be changed. It will clear from the e-way bill that invoice has been raised by X to A, but the goods are moved from X to B. In this case, the goods may move from the premises. We have discussed principal place of business, place of business of the supplier, that is X ka business place, to the job worker, that is Haryana, with a copy of the invoice issued by X to A, and job worker name and address should also be mentioned as the consignee in tax invoice. I'll take only half-minute break. Just allow me only half-minute ka break. So in this case, further the buyer, the principal shall issue the delivery challan and send the same to the job worker directly. This is important point. First, there would be the tax invoice from X on A, but A to B, there would be the delivery challan. In case of the import of the goods by the principal, which are then supplied directly from the custom station of import, the goods may move from the custom station of import to the place of business of job worker. Yeah, place of the business of A or premises of the job worker. In this case also, the e-way bill would be prepared on the basis of bill of entry. Please note, in case of the import of the goods, the e-way bill would be generated on the basis of bill of entry. It is a mandate. And the principal shall issue the delivery challan under Rule 55 and send the same to the job worker directly. When goods are returned in piecemeal by job worker, let's say goods has been sent by principal to job worker in one lot and he is returning in multiple lot. In that case, goods after carrying out the job worker are sent in piecemeal quantity by a job worker to the another job worker or the principal. The challan issued originally by the principal cannot be endorsed, and a fresh delivery challan is required to be issued by the job worker. Intimation, that is ITC 04, it is clarified that it is the responsibility of principal to include the details of all delivery challan. Which delivery challan? Which A had sent to B and B has sent to A. All delivery challan ka detail has to be given in the ITC 04. Earlier it was quarterly, but now it is either half yearly or yearly. During the quarter we can leave it. This period can be extended. Yes, that is okay. Requirement to generate the e-way bill. In case of the job worker, you remember Rule 138 sub Rule 2. Rule 138 sub Rule 2, which say that if you are sending the goods from principal to job worker, that is interstate. Rule 138 sub Rule 2 says it is mandatory to generate the e-way bill even though value is less than 50,000. Even though value is less than 50,000. Irrespective of the value of the consignment. Further, e-way bill would be generated by the principal whenever required, or in case of if the job worker is unregistered, obviously the principal would generate the e-way bill. Now the registration requirement, you all have given the answer, but let me discuss once again. Registration requirement when both the principal and job worker are located in same state. The job worker is required to obtain the registration only when the aggregate turnover exceeds the threshold limit. Threshold limit would be 20 or 10 as the case may be. Okay. Now, if the job worker in the different state, then it is interstate supply. Prima facie, section 24, subsection 1 say that interstate taxable supplies, we have to take mandatory registration. In the section 24, it is not written goods or it is not written services. They are talking about only supply. It means by virtue of the section 24, if I like to make the interstate, whether it is a supply of goods or supply the service, I cannot make the supply without registration. Then finally, in the October 2017, 13 October 2017, the notification number 10 has been issued in section 23 subsection 2. Using the power of 23(2), they are saying if you are the job worker, you can make the interstate taxable supply without taking the registration till 20 lakh. Therefore, it is clarified that job worker being a supplier is required to obtain the registration only when the aggregate turnover exceed the threshold limit. Value of the goods after completion of job worker supplied directly from the premises of the respective job worker, not to include in aggregate turnover. See, as discussed earlier, the principal can supply the goods directly from job worker premises without bringing back these goods to his own premises. Correct. Delivery challan is still issued in case of the bill to ship to model? Yes. Otherwise, how he will report the same in the ITC 04? Why? What is the main requirement? Because he has to report the delivery challan in the ITC 04 now. That is the main purpose, to issue the delivery challan. If it is a normal case of the bill to ship to model, then it is not required, because in the principal to the job worker, there is an additional requirement to report or to file ITC 4. That is the reason. As discussed, we have discussed, let me repeat. It is clarified that the supply of the goods by the principal from the place of the business or the premises of the job worker will be regarded as the supply by the principal, not by the job worker. Even though job worker is registered, but it will not be counted the turnover of job worker. Tax invoice would be issued by A. Correct. Therefore, the value of such goods supply will be included in the aggregate turnover of the principal, not by the job worker. Last part, section 143, subsection 5, notwithstanding anything contained in aforesaid provision, any waste, scrap generated during the job worker may be supplied by job worker directly from his place of the business on payment of the tax if such job worker is registered. If not registered, then only it can be supplied by the principal if not registered. From my side, today class is completed. Over to you for asking any question. अशोक जी, सेंटर में मैं स्टॉप कर रहा हूं शेयरिंग, सेंटर में रहूंगा मैं, ठीक है. So any point, any confusion from my side? This class is completed. Any doubt you can discuss. The last class would be on Sunday, and we are going to discuss the written chapter. Very important, and entire chapter would be on practical. I will open time like today. I have shown to you that e-way bill also, correct? So e-way bill ka format also in the same pattern. I will log into the GST portal and I will show you the relevant relevant returns like GSTR1 and GSTR3B at least. See, Kosiki, if there are two possibilities. If job worker is registered, he can see if there is any waste or scrap generated during the process, then it can be supplied by the job worker on the payment of tax if he is registered. If he is not registered, then it can be supplied by the principal only on payment of tax. So waste and scrap has to be supplied only on payment of the tax by the job worker if registered, otherwise principal if job worker is not registered. Clear? So please confirm so that we can conclude our today class. Sir, if job worker send interstate supply, directly, it is the turn of the principal. So why job worker need registration if cross threshold limit? No. See, this would never be counted in the, see, you are talking about goods. But that 20 or 10 is talking about the job worker charges. Say, let's say for sending the goods, there is no burden on the job worker and it will not be counted the turnover. Currently, I have taken the example that job worker is charging 15,000. Let's say is the total charges is 21 lakh. The total yearly charges is 21 lakh. In that case, the job worker charges, which is the job worker income only, it will be the supply of the job worker only. We are not talking about the goods. You have asked for the goods that you have correctly asked. That will be counted in the principal. But when the job worker ka turnover, it means for service charge, if it is increased 21, then they have to take registration. I hope it is clear. Okay. Oh, great. So thank you very much. Good night to all of you. We'll meet on the last day. Last class would be on Sunday. Must attend because it will be entire practical class. Thank you so much. Goodbye to all of you. अशोक जी आप कंप्लीट कर सकते हैं.